what is your experience of Lila attending a mainstream school, and how does this impact on how she interacts with her peers?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. It can't not do. If you never see a type of person in your world, and in your world in particular, not in the world in general, then it's always seen as being different. It's always seen as being other. Um, so by having people going to your school who are different from you, um, in terms of disability, be that autism, be it physical disabilities, be it cerebral palsy, and that becoming more normal to you and being still different because there's only one of Lila in the school, but it's more the kids understanding of Lila and what she needs and where she'll be able to go. It increases in a way that it wouldn't in any other situation. If it was just somebody that they knew lived down the street that went to a different school than them, the kids in Lila's school know that, oh, Lila doesn't like that particular thing in the playground, so she doesn't play that game. And that's not a big deal. Lila doesn't, didn't used to like assembly, so she didn't go, but it wasn't a big deal. Now she likes assembly, so she comes in. So that understanding of making allowances for other people and making adjustments for other people, I think that carries through for the rest of your life. If you see that those adjustments being made for people when you're younger, it just becomes the norm. So when you go into higher education, into the workplace, you become a manager yourself, you look after people, making adjustments for other people who need adjustments so that they can participate. It's part of second nature. I think our generation and the generation before us can struggle a lot with making adjustments for people because, well, why should I? Or, well, that's not my problem. I think a lot of that has to do with because they didn't grow up with people with disabilities. So making adjustments for people feels unfair in a way that it isn't. And I think the generation after mine and generations before that and Lila's generation don't have that. They're growing up with adjustments being the norm, and that it really doesn't matter how something gets done. So long as it gets done, it really doesn't matter. I think that makes a big difference. I think you have to start really, really young to get to change in 20 years. Change doesn't happen quickly, especially, you know, decades and hundreds of years of in-ground thinking about disabled people. That doesn't change quickly. And it's hard to get people to change once those ideas are already in their head. So if you can get them at primary school and Lila going to their classes and going to their mainstream school and just being in their environment, I think that has such a beneficial impact on people growing up as well, and what society will look like in 20 years' time and 30 years' time when the people who are in school with Lila now are managers, are managing services, those kids are already thinking about when they go on day trips, are thinking, well, their parents will come back to me and said, oh, so and so noticed that there were steps up to that building, so Lila wouldn't have been able to get into that building. And they talked about it and figured out, well, how would Lila get in here? So they're already thinking about it and having those conversations, which blows my mind because most adults don't, but the children do because that's
Yeah.
what they've more space to think about it, but they do. And I do think it's important because it isn't for everybody. And it's, as a parent, you have to do what's right for your child. Mainstream school is not right for every child. And every school, like the school could make every adjustment under the sun, and it wouldn't mean that the school was still right for that particular child. So I do think it's important, if you have a child where you think it could go either way, that you give it a chance, that you give it the opportunity, that you try, because I think it is important for those of us whose children and whose schools are willing to make it work for as long as they can, to do that, because I think it is so important in how we shape society going forward. It's not particularly easy, and there's some days are harder than others, but I think it's just something that's just so important. If it wasn't beneficial for Lila, I wouldn't be doing it, hands down. But while it is, it's really important that we do.
Interview conducted by Michael McEwan, Associate of Lincoln Scotland. Video editing and voiceover by Dr. Daniel Farrell, Project Coordinator of Lincoln Scotland.